It's all inside. It's all inside us. God needs spiritual fruits, right? Not religious nuts. Spiritual fruits. Now, I like that because what bears fruit in our lives? Our consciousness bears fruit. What we think about bears fruit. What we are holding to in our mind, that which we believe, that which we know and embody in consciousness, must demonstrate, must manifest, must express. This is the movement from victim consciousness to knowing that God lives within us, that God lives within each and every one of us. Jesus said, "Behold, the kingdom is within you." We are gifted with access to innate spiritual power. This is the truth of who we are. This is what our teaching at Unity centers on. We're not waiting for a distant God to give us something good when we are good. It's already here. We are looking to align our consciousness with the eternal truth of being. There's only one thing, the life of God that lives within each and every one of us. It's the only thing in town. And we're a part of it. And when we get our mind wrapped around that, open to this deeper truth of wholeness, we get to experience life in a new way. I'm going to talk today about revealing wholeness. We will live lives of greater wholeness because we are already whole, and we just need to know that. We are already divine expressions of God, of power, of light, of love, of wisdom, of imagination. We just have to reveal it. Simple, right? Maybe simple, but not necessarily easy. It's a journey, and it's an invitation and a choice. I love that word. It's a choice. We get to choose our thoughts all the time. And I got to tell you, when I remember that I'm choosing these thoughts, it's so empowering because I get to make a new thought if the thought that I'm thinking isn't working anymore, right? We get to know the truth of who we are, and we can live it. New thought. For a long time, I thought new thought meant it's a new faith tradition because it's fairly new. It started in the 1800s when like Buddhism is 2,000 years old and Hinduism is thousands and thousands of years old. That's not why it's called new thought. It's called new thought because we are constantly looking for a new thought. Simple, right? Not necessarily easy. It's a new spiritual philosophy within our own mind. We come here to take classes, to listen to talks, all so that we can have a new thought about ourselves and about a situation that we are in. So we can experience and express a new reality in our lives. Many of us have received bad information and believed this bad information about who and what we are. And we're going to talk about our body today. Myrtle Fillmore demonstrated this new thought so beautifully for us. It was all about her body. For many years, she believed that she was sick and weak. And I remember reading it for the first time, and I read that she thought she was an invalid. And I'm like, an invalid? What's an invalid? And then I realized, oh, it's invalid. Oh. Yeah, right? Anyway, for many years, she thought she was an invalid. She attended a lecture by E.B. Weeks in 1886. She learned of the innate potential for divine healing through the use of affirmative prayer. She began to regularly affirm, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Repeat that. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Let's say it. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Now, that's not to say that our bodies don't get sick, but who we really are, the truth of who we are, our soul being that Christ consciousness within us, never gets sick. That's our wholeness. Over time, affirming this, she healed herself from tuberculosis. She's a very kind and nurturing but powerful woman. She was a rock of faith. She says, sometimes we pray to God, to a God outside ourselves, but it is the God in the midst of us that frees and heals. She said, God is the one perfect life flowing through us. God is the one pure substance out of which our organism is formed. God is the power that gives us motive power, the strength that holds us up and allows us to exercise our members, the wisdom that gives us intelligence in every cell of our body, every thought in our mind. God is the only reality of us. All else is but a shadow that is a cast by some foolish belief. When we let the light flood us with this sunshine, all clouds vanish, and we begin to see ourselves in new ways of doing, which lead to wholeness and health and satisfaction and growth. She held on to this for 4 years. She worked with this for 4 years, and then she was cured of tuberculosis. She demonstrated the power of shifting by shifting what she knew to be true of her body. She was a young woman who was sick, yet she heard something, someone told her something new, and she believed it. She had 4 children. She was not ready to make plans to do anything other than raise her children. She began to practice it and she lived it. I am a child of God and I do not inherit sickness, over and over again. She spoke to her own body to become aware that there was more here than she had been told. There was more here than she had experienced. That is what we are here to do. At Unity, that is the whole ball of wax, the whole game. We come here to become aware that we have a direct connection to the infinite creativity. The light of God is our light. The life of God is our life. The love of God is our love. But if we don't know it, we don't live it. And if we don't live it, we don't express it. Ernest Holmes said, the realization of God is the most powerful healing agency known to man. The most powerful healing agency known to man. Myrtle went on to talk about forgiveness. She said, I went to all the life centers in my body and spoke words of truth to them, words of strength and power. I asked their forgiveness for the foolish, ignorant course that I had pursued in the past when I had condemned them, called them weak, inefficient, and diseased. I did not become discouraged to them being slow to wake up, but kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring words of truth until the organs responded, and neither did I forget to tell them that they were free, unlimited spirit. I told them they were no longer in bondage to the carnal mind, that they were not corruptible flesh, but centers of life and energy omnipresent. Many of us have been told our bodies are not divine, maybe even shameful. Maybe somebody told you directly or indirectly, and then you began to tell yourself the same story, that your body is not to be loved, but to be pushed away. Some of us have more flesh and body than we think is acceptable or than society thinks is acceptable, and some of us have less flesh and body than society thinks is acceptable. But to reclaim the wholeness that we all have, we must be willing to tell a new story about what is the truth. Myrtle said, I did not forget to tell all the parts of my body that they were pure, unlimited, free spirit. She sees no separation from her body to her spirit. They are one. Now, Einstein said mass or form is light that has been slowed down. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So we are all light. Every photon in our body is light. We are light beings. The physical body is spirit expressed. When we get our mind undivided around that truth, we will have a different experience of walking around in a body. This is not metaphysical malpractice. I'm not saying that we're thinking the wrong things. I'm saying that when we do get sick, that God is still here, that we are still one with all that is, that we are still whole. We all experience physical challenges. We all get sick, and we're all going to die. It is about knowing our wholeness no matter what our body is doing. We are whole. It is not an error when we get ill. It is just a part of the human experience. Actually, lately I've decided that when I get sick, I'm having a chemicalization of a new way of thinking. I'm having a chemicalization of a new awareness, of a new evolution of who I am. And this is my body's way of getting rid of it. I'm just coming off of being sick again, so you could tell. I'm a new person. This is the healing. This is the healing that we're talking about, is when we remember that. Even when the body is coming to the end of its journey, we can experience God in it. We die in wholeness. Work with spiritual practice until the end. We are the only begotten child of God, each and every one of us. There's only one of us here. We are unified with God. We are more than our limited, separate selves. My journey with this body has been a challenge, and not with illness, but with acceptance and love and compassion. Our culture, from when I was a little girl, says the only acceptable body is young and strong and fit and thin. Now, we've gotten much better about that these days, but I have been programmed to think that that's the best, that's the perfect, that's the stride, that's the goal. And I'm 64, and I'm hoping by the time I'm 65, I forget it. I hope I finally get it. My job, and you've heard me say this before, my job is to love my body as it ages. I am strong, I am flexible, I am healthy, I am blessed. I think about what Myrtle did with her body, going from having tuberculosis to being healthy. She asked forgiveness from her body for all the ways she held it as wrong. Is there room in your mind to accept and love your body just as it is? To love the body means to care for it as you would a precious gift. To make sure it is nurtured and cared for. What practices can you take up to reveal wholeness in your body? How can you love and accept your beautiful body? Repeat after me. Beloved body, you are free, unlimited spirit. Beloved body, you are free, unlimited spirit. Our body doesn't lie to us. When it's tired, it lets us know. When it's hungry, it lets us know. When it's full, it lets us know. We need to learn to listen to it. Do we really live as though we were one with God in the choices and actions we take with regard to our body? Do we look at our body as a temple, holding what it is that it's holding, the soul of God? Something's going to happen to us in this life that we're not going to like, right? At some point, something's going to happen. 2 weeks ago, we once again heard the story of Jesus and what he needed to do to demonstrate for us faith while living life on life's terms. He had to go through something excruciating in his body, but he knew that he had eternal life, and that's why he went through it, so we could see that and experience it in our own way. The freedom that begins to become our experience as we get hip to who we are really in God, then life becomes, yeah, so what? Who cares what's happening, right? Do you ever see a dog with their face outside the window and all flies are coming into their face and they're lapping it up, and they don't care because it's so good to have their face out the window. They don't care that flies are hitting them in the face. That's how we get as we get into this belief and this knowing that we are one with God. Health is the demonstration of spiritual cause in our body. That does not mean that somebody who has a diagnosis is not exhibiting wholeness, or somebody that is differently able is not exhibiting wholeness. They are. It's the opposite. What we know is that the presence of God is here within me and you and everyone, no matter what their body is experiencing. God is I am. God is love, I am love. God is light, I am light. God is wholeness, I am wholeness. That is the healing. The law of attraction does not give us what we want. It gives us what we are. So if we want health, we must think and choose and act like a healthy person does. If we want to demonstrate health, we must be willing to be a healthy person. This also goes for prosperity and peace and joy, all of those feelings. We have to be that already because we are that already. We just have to remember that. Many of us have our own story about our body temple, and I'm changing that story, and I ask you to join me. My job is to love this body temple as I get older, and I ask that you join me on that journey. It's a healing journey. Life is a wonder, and I am a wonderful part of it. We can know that and experience that. You all know what it takes, right? Getting enough exercise, eating the right foods, getting enough sleep, having healthy relationships, changing our thoughts about ourselves, being kind and compassionate toward ourselves always. Being kind and compassionate toward ourselves always. Commit to this path of knowing your wholeness as one with God. Know you aren't going to do it perfectly, but have compassion when you miss the mark. There are 3 hallmarks to self-compassion, and this is by Christine Neff. She's an expert in looking at self-esteem versus self-compassion. Self-compassion is self-kindness versus self-judgment. Self-compassion is seeing our common humanity versus isolation. Self-compassion is mindfulness over identification. Give your body what it needs, accepting it the way it is, because you are whole. You are one with all that is, and you are divine. I want to say thank you. I'm your sister companion in power, possibility, and prayer. Know that I love you, I appreciate you, and I see you. Until we meet again, know that you are blessed and a blessing.